Hello and welcome. You're watching BTTV. I'm Tanya Aneja, and this is a very special episode. And my guest on the show today is Dr. Anadi Pande. He is a professor of strategic management at IIM Lucknow, where he has been a full-time faculty. He's also the faculty in charge and director at IIM Lucknow Enterprise Incubation Center. The incubator is a Section 8 company which incubates and accelerates startups. Very good afternoon, sir, and thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us here on Business Today Television.
Good afternoon, ma'am. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So firstly, let's talk about the talk of the town, the G20 Summit. I mean, the long-awaited G20 Summit in New Delhi is now over. And, diplomats from across the world are hailing India's successful presidency. So I want to know it from you that how are you, looking at this success?
At a very fundamental level, I see that it has had phenomenal psychological impact. Acknowledging that a developing or emerging country like India can be hailed as a global leader, which has the capability to bring together, a very diverse group of countries with very diverse interests, with Ukraine conflict raging and with economic crisis in the West. Despite all these variables, being able to generate a consensus statement or a document amongst so many countries is reflective of India's leadership. And the second thing that I feel is very, very impactful is the fact that the traditional Indian perspective, which is enshrined in Vasudevaya Kutumbakam, has been acknowledged by the world as a guiding principle for us to resolve our problems. Yeah, so, that's at the psychological level. And of course, one has, found it very, very encouraging that, we've come together to build, something called India, Middle East, Europe, corridor for, transportation of goods that's going to provide economic security and stability to a very large part of the world, which is also, something where the finance and the multilateral agencies coming together to acknowledge that they will be funding it demonstrates that it is likely to attract private capital and become successful. And so there are multiple initiatives that I find very exciting and encouraging. So this corridor, and the second one is the fact that comes out of the Jaipur statement, actually, because that relates directly to the support to MSMEs and to startup culture of India, which is that the group has decided that they will document best practices for MSMEs and make them available to these small enterprises, which are the backbone of all developed or developing economies of the world. So that bolsters the confidence that ultimately this G20 initiative will reach the grassroots, in impacting their economic success.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you said it. And also, it would be great if you could talk to us about the evolving, entrepreneurial ecosystem in India, and how is IIML Enterprise Incubation Center contributing to this ecosystem? I mean, your vision and mission.
So we are, as you know, an institution of higher education. And as part of government's mandate and encouraging the initiative that all, institutions of higher education in India must do something for, growing this phenomenal requirement for India, which has capability to impact our economic success, which is developing entrepreneurial ecosystem of India. But, this initiative, even though has arrived only in the last 6 years, as you noticed that the startups had very few numbers 6 years back. Only in the recent past, they have grown phenomenally. from less than 100 startups in a year to 100,000 startups this year is a huge journey, and we are contributing towards it. So our vision is to be trustees of entrepreneurship and innovation. That's a very lofty vision. But because we are a not-for-profit enterprise, and because the government's policies are supporting us in helping, those startups that have wonderful ideas, but which, in absence of incubative support, can lose their way and be, and the society may see them as gone. So we do that as part of our vision. We support startups, encourage them to, absorb the skills, the capabilities, the resources from finance to human resources to mentorship, so that they may take their idea to fruition, which is, become successful enterprises. And undoubtedly, that helps the nation because it creates one wealth, which improves the economic success of the nation. And the second is it creates jobs, which is again a very important issue in a growing economy like India.
Absolutely, Dr. Pandey. And, now let's talk about, some of the challenges that the startups are facing at this point in time. And, we have been talking about the funding winter that started last summer. It almost slashed the capital raised by startups to half in 2023. However, many startup investors now believe that the funding winter will end in a year maximum. So your thoughts, when it comes to the challenges, and how are you planning to, solve these challenges faced by all these startups?
So, to answer your first question first, idea to business, that is the journey that a startup has to undertake. So idea is something that the founders have, which enables them to identify opportunity gaps. And the fundamental definition of a startup is that the founder has a vision of, solving a very serious problem of the society, but he doesn't have adequate resources to be able to do so. So the biggest challenge is that he or she doesn't have adequate resources. So the role of incubation comes in helping them access those resources. So one of the first challenges that a startup faces is that they don't have financial capital. The second major challenge that they face, and this is not based on my experience alone, there's a deep literature on entrepreneurship which acknowledges these challenges. The second challenge is the challenge of attracting the right talent that may actually enable them to grow.
Right.
And the third challenge is availability of, and a physical infrastructure where they can, conduct some experimentation, create a minimum viable product, and then enhance the chances of success. So quite a few of these challenges, as you understand, are related to availability of resources, and also they have internal challenges of, not having a very deep insight about how to build a go-to-market strategy for which the incubator provides them mentorship. So all these challenges, that confront a startup, the role of an incubator that we attempt to run here is to resolve these challenges favorably in the interest of the startup. To answer your second question, about the investment capital in winter, as you called it, which is something which one appreciates. At least I think that it's something that is setting the course correction. There is nothing called complete throttle of flow of investment capital. If there's a brilliant idea, there's a tremendous opportunity, there is always a risk capital that is available for meeting such an opportunity. Only thing is that sometimes the hype may result in a lot of investments being sort of made without due diligence. And the fact that that behavior sometimes get penalized and people hold back, I won't see as a negative or a threat of the environment. I would only call it as a course correction.
Okay.
Because there is enough, people in this country and in this world who have capital that is seeking opportunities that are risky with great returns, right? The only challenge that the startups face is how shall the twain meet? So there is an appetite for risk capital and there is a provider of risk capital. How shall the twain meet? And the twain will meet with higher systems which demand greater sophistication. And if the sophistication is lacking and we are prone to be more hype oriented, then it is only legitimate that there must be course correction. So I see that winter as a course correction. I don't see that the risk capital has dried up. Our startups have been raising adequate financial resources over the past several months and will continue to do so in the future as well.
Okay, absolutely got that. And lastly, I want to talk to you about the national level investor meet that you had in the month of June. We have been reading about that. And for the benefit of our viewers, I would like to mention that this IIM Lucknow's Noida campus provided a platform for startup founders, investors, and corporate partners to connect, collaborate, and explore investment opportunities. So I want you to talk a little bit about that investment meet and what's the plan going forward. I mean, any other meets that are in the pipeline?
So you see, if you look at the role of an incubator, its fundamental role is to embed itself in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and make available all those resources that the startup would need in its journey of converting that idea into a business. In fact, that's the fundamental textbook definition of what is entrepreneurship is, the ability to convert idea into a business. So financial capital being one of the very major resources that a startup needs, we organize this meet. What it does is it helps us showcase the wonderful innovations and ideas, irrespective of their stage of development. There could be early stage ideas, there could be ideas that have crossed the minimum viable product stage, and there could be ideas that have converted themselves into products and are very successfully launched in the market. So all the way from idea to a successful business enterprise that we are incubating, they have access to this network of financial investors and venture capitalists and angel investors who come down in this meet. It allows us to showcase these wonderful startups so that there is excitement in the financial community, and they, depending on their own strategic orientation, then interface with these startups and the twain meets. So we act as market makers in that sense during this entire investor meet. So there is the providers of capital and there are seekers of the capital. So we allow the twain to meet so that they may have a very viable transaction amongst themselves. And so the meet does two major things. It helps us build our network of financial investors. That is the inferior objective. The larger objective is it allows the startups to have access to this critical financial resource.
Okay, absolutely. And on that wonderful note, thank you so much, sir, for taking the time out and being with us here on Business Today Television.
Thank you for having me over. Good luck.
Thank you so much. So with that, it's time for me and my team to wrap up this special episode. But you stay tuned for all the latest market updates. And many thanks for watching.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.